In this video, I'm going to go over 5 common pieces of self-improvement advice and why they didn't work for me. I read a lot about self-improvement and personal development, and one thing that I don't like is how absolutist a lot of it is. The truth is, very few pieces of advice actually work for everyone because we're all really different. Every single one of us have different preferences, challenges, skills, and aptitudes. And we're all pursuing different goals and pursuing those goals in different contexts. There's no reason to believe that there's any one piece of advice that's going to be universal. I've maintained a regular meditation practice since 2010, and it's had a huge impact on my life. And one of the most common meditation recommendations is to do it every morning. But for me, that really hasn't worked out. My style of mindfulness meditation is centering and relaxing and promotes clarity. But the way I structure my life means that when I wake up in the morning, I have tons of energy and complete clarity about what I want to accomplish before my first hard commitment of the day. So if I meditate in the morning, it isn't really giving me something I need. There have been several times over the last 9 years that I have tried morning meditation. And I found that developing a morning meditation practice has been something that I've regretted every single time. I would always walk away from that meditation not feeling like I got too much out of it and wishing that I'd spent that time doing something else. On the other hand, midday meditations and bedtime meditations have been transformative for me. I have a really demanding job, and usually around lunchtime, I'm starting to feel kind of frazzled and overwhelmed by all of the things on my to-do list. When I make sure to do a 10 or 15-minute meditation right before I go back to work after lunch, I find that I hit work feeling centered and calm and clear about what I want the rest of my day to look like. Also, meditating before bed has made such a big difference in my sleep. Normally when I get into bed, my brain is going a mile a minute on reviewing the day that passed, looking forward to the next day, thinking through my to-do list, reflecting on the challenges and experiences and desires I have for my life. It's just like so much noise in there. But when I meditate before going to sleep, I clear my brain of all of those thoughts knocking around and I'm able to fall asleep easily. Before I did bedtime meditations, at least by my sleep tracker, it would take me 30 to 45 minutes to fall asleep. But when I meditate before bed, I fall asleep in 10 to 15 minutes. That's huge. I highly recommend meditating, but I encourage you to take your time and experiment with different approaches, times of day, frequencies, durations, and physical positions. Take inspiration from people, but don't feel like if you're doing meditation differently, that you're doing it wrong. If you're getting something out of it, it's working. Affirmations and mantra are very popular in personal development and self-help. I've tried them a few times and it's never really worked for me. Looking in the mirror and saying something to myself that I didn't really believe or didn't really embody never really felt right to me. I never felt empowered after doing that, and I don't think it ever had a demonstrable effect on my mental well-being, my outlook, or my behavior. It always felt a bit goofy, and sometimes it felt so forced and fake that it actually made me feel worse. What I've done instead is what I call vocab swapping, and that has made a huge impact on my life. Here's a real example from my real life. I've struggled with size since puberty, and it's taken a real emotional toll on me over the years. But changing the words I use when I talk about size has helped me redefine my relationship with food and with my body. I don't really use the words weight, diet, or exercise anymore. Instead of saying weight, I say size or body composition. Instead of saying diet, I say food patterns, food habits, or food choices. Instead of saying exercise, I say activity or movement. Weight, diet, and exercise are words that are loaded down with moral judgments and full of emotional baggage for me. On the other hand, my swaps are neutral, objective, and accurate. And they help me think about the things that I need to do to progress on my journey in a way that's less intimidating, less demeaning, and makes me feel empowered and excited about the journey instead of being scared, intimidated, or feeling bad about myself. If affirmations aren't working for you, try vocab swapping. Listen closely to the way that you think and talk about the challenges that you're facing in your life. Are you using words that are loaded with emotional baggage, that are disempowering and unmotivating? Instead, swap those words out with things that are more neutral, accurate, and objective. I think you'll be surprised at how much a simple language change can make in your outlook on your own challenges. Bullet journaling is a thing. The people who like it are absolutely fanatical. But when I tried it, it really was a mess and a half. I did not like it. It did not work for me. Its proponents say that it's fast and efficient and comprehensive and flexible, but my experience was the exact opposite. I found it frustratingly time-consuming, inefficient, and inconvenient. It would take me 20 or 30 minutes every morning to set up my pages and fill them out, and I never really seemed to have the journal when I needed it, and when I did have it, it took me a long time to find the thing that I needed. It was just, I hated it. All that said, it really taught me a lot about my preferences. I really like sitting down at the beginning of my day and really thinking through what my priorities are, getting clarity about what I am responsible for over the course of the day, and having that be really easily accessible to me. It's something that's really useful. I just don't like doing it analog. I don't like doing it in a journal. I prefer to use Google Calendar, Google Docs, and Todoist to track my events, notes, and tasks. That's what works for me. It's versatile, it's flexible, it's searchable, and it's with me at all times. The other thing that bullet journaling taught me is that I love journaling. I love taking time every morning to record my thoughts and feelings, to get them all out on paper so they're not knocking around in my head. And it makes a huge difference in how I navigate through my day when I've taken some time to really get clarity and focus through journaling. So even though bullet journaling wasn't really for me, it opened up a practice that has really transformed my life in a really positive way. So I'm really glad I tried it. So if you're interested in journaling, don't feel like there's only one way to do it and that you have to do it that way. There are tons of ways of approaching journaling. I made a whole video about it where I went over several different approaches and types of journaling, and I'm sure if you give it a watch, you will find a kind of journaling that you like. I will link it in the description and at the end of this video. Another common piece of advice is never let your phone touch your bedside table. This is actually a very good piece of advice, and it's one that I've given to people who've asked me about sleep quality. Having your phone be a part of your evening routine can stimulate your brain and make it harder for you to fall asleep. Additionally, when it's sitting next to your bedside and you wake up in the middle of the night, you're going to be really tempted to check it and to see what time it is, and then you'll see all your notifications, and then you'll want to check some of them, and then you have a hard time falling back to sleep once you've woken up. Another thing that it causes problems with is waking up and getting out of bed. Your phone alarm goes off, you pick it up, you're looking at notifications, it's invasive, it's distracting, and you start your day on everyone else's priorities instead of your own, and maybe you spend an extra 30 minutes in bed scrolling social media that you should have been up getting ready for your day. So I can understand why this is such a common piece of advice. But for me, it's a little bit too extreme. Like I mentioned earlier in the day, I meditate before bed, and I use an app called Headspace for that. I can meditate without guidance, but I really prefer guided meditations. So keeping my phone in the other room means that I can't use my meditation app, so that doesn't really work for me. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I just don't look at my phone. And that's just a self-control thing. I just don't look at it. And so I don't have the issue of having my phone keep me up when I'm trying to sleep. And then when I wake up in the morning, I do a two-step wake up. So my alarm goes off at 5 and I don't jump right out of bed. I actually just sit up. And then I look at my phone, but I don't look at my notifications or social media or any of that stuff. I look at my calendar and I look at my task management app, Todoist. And so I spend the first 10 minutes of my day regaining clarity about what I want that day to look like. And then my second alarm goes off at 5:10 and I get out of bed. And I get out of bed with total clarity and motivation and energy to get started and to start checking things off of my to-do list. If my phone was in the other room, I think I would actually have a harder time waking up, because that time where I'm sitting up and my head is like a little foggy, that process of going through my Google Calendar and my to-do list actually helps me wake up a little bit so that when I get out of bed, I'm not sluggish. So that piece of advice works for a lot of people, and I'm still going to keep giving it out to folks who have a little bit of a problem with phone addiction. But for me, I'm probably never going to be a phone away from the bedside table kind of person. The last in my list of self-help advice that did not work for me is not so much a piece of advice as it is an approach, and that is manifesting philosophy. Manifesting philosophy is the idea that if you put it out to the universe will provide it for you. And at first, I thought that this would be an approach that could help me with optimism, which is a thing that I've really struggled with over my whole life, and I still struggle with to this day. So I read The Law of Attraction, and man, manifesting philosophy is not for me. Unfortunately, I got about 3 chapters into the Law of Attraction and realized that it is completely incompatible with everything I know to be true about the world. And that sounds like an exaggeration or like being over dramatic, but I'm not exaggerating. That is really what my takeaway was. It relies on a lot of scientific sounding assertions that are easily provably false. And that really destroyed the writer's credibility in my eyes. I tried to stick with it, but there were still more problems. I don't do magical, mystical thinking. I operate in the observable world. And this is a philosophy that literally requires you to believe in magic, that you just put it out to the universe and the universe will give you what you want. And it actively discourages you from planning and taking strategic action to achieve the things that you want in life. And that makes no sense to me. You're just supposed to believe that the universe can hear your thoughts and will just provide you with what you need, with no action or planning on your own part. You're supposed to just live as if the thing you want has already happened, and then the universe will make it happen. This is astoundingly irresponsible in my opinion. I know that there are lots of people out there who are attracted to philosophies that fill in the blanks of the world with mysticism. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you're the kind of person who really needs that for understanding the world and feeling solace and grounding yourselves in some sort of mystical philosophy, go for it. But the idea that you shouldn't actually plan or take action to make your own happiness is just not compatible with me at all. I do not believe that happiness just happens to us. I think we have to build it. I think we have to design it and make a plan and take action and build happiness. So manifesting philosophy and the law of attraction, not for me. And if you're into it, awesome, but it's not something that I would ever recommend to anyone. Self-improvement is a journey with no map. You're just driving and hoping you're taking the right turns. Sometimes you're gonna take a wrong turn, and it's okay to turn around once you realize that the path you're on isn't the right one for you. Don't be afraid of experimentation, and don't be afraid of setting down or modifying techniques that don't work for you. At the end of the day, this is your journey, your destination, your process. You get to decide for yourself what makes most sense for you. If you got this far, you should probably subscribe because I make videos just like this one every single week. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me. I know that your time is your most precious resource, and I feel honored that you've spent some of it with me. I'm Phoebe. This is Better with Phoebe. I hope you have a great day and an even better tomorrow. See you in the next video.